I want to thank Brother Shelton Prescott from the Integrity Lodge, love that name, Integrity Lodge 51 of the Prince Hall Masons. And really want to thank him for being a visionary. I know this is not necessarily the venue, but this brother did some very groundbreaking things with the Prince Hall Masons and this lodge with the NAACP and doing voter empowerment for the state of New Jersey, and that's important. I want to thank you for that. I'm honored to do that work. I also want to thank the New Family Foundation, the City of Paterson, and all the other organizers. I just want to say this, I'm going to use colloquialism, so elders, feel free to tap me on my hand if I'm getting too carried away. So this is really awesome because you have a whole week of education, celebration of Black people and Blackness, so give yourselves a round of applause. You need to follow your footsteps in the city of New York and do a week-long Kwanzaa celebration, and I'm going to actually take that back home and challenge the elders to get us together to do that, because I think that this is awesome. So I want to get started, but before I get started, I want to have permission from the elders to teach. All right. So before I get into my remarks, I want to let you know that this is going to be interactive, right? I don't want to just talk to you. That's not even who we are. You don't just sit and listen. We're an engaging people, like the brother said earlier. So the first thing I need you to do is I need you to look to the left of you. I need you to look to the right of you. If you know both of the people sitting on the side of you, I need you to sit next to somebody who you do not know. So either on the left side or the right side, it should be somebody who you do not know. I'll give you about a minute to get that together while I grab my phone. So I would like to start with reading an excerpt from Dr. Karenga, who is the founder of Kwanzaa. Every year he has an address that he writes and publishes for us, and I would like to start with an excerpt from his address. It says, "Indeed, Kwanzaa itself is an historical and ongoing act of freedom, an instrument of freedom and a celebration of freedom. It is an historical and ongoing act of freedom that is an act of resistance and reaffirmation. It is and was conceived and created in the resistance to Eurocentric cultural domination and determination of ways for us to understand, assert, and celebrate ourselves and engage the world. And it was conceived and created in reaffirmation of our Africanness as persons and a people, and our right and responsibility to be ourselves, free ourselves, and celebrate ourselves," right? So just a little background on why we're here today and what we've been doing this entire week. And we know that the Nguzo Saba principles, while we uplift them during Kwanzaa, the week of Kwanzaa, is something that we're supposed to incorporate into our daily lives. So I hope I have enough, but I made copies for everyone, the Nguzo Saba principles, so you can take them with you when you leave here today. But today's principle is Nia, and Dr. Karenga says to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. He also says that Nia is a commitment from us to strive, work, and struggle to restore African peoples to their good and rightful place in the world, and to the ancient ethical mandate to bring and sustain good in the world as the fundamental mission and meaning of human life. So I'm going to read the short version again. Nia is to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Anybody want to raise their hand and tell me, how do they think that we can accomplish this, right? Because there's many different ways to reach a goal. And sometimes we say things and it sounds good and we're like, yeah, but we need to be in a habit, and I know all of you all here do that, be in a habit of internalizing things and saying, what does that really mean? And how can I really make that happen? So how do you think we can restore our people to their traditional greatness? Don't think about it in terms of us as a people in general, but what can you do? How do you think you can do this? There's no wrong answer. And the purpose, while you're thinking, the purpose of me asking is that sometimes when I read something, I get an interpretation, but you may read something and get a completely different interpretation. I'm like, you know what, wow, I never thought about it that way. So this is an opportunity for us to learn from each other. So anybody, any brave soul, or do I have to like look at somebody who's looking at me and just doesn't want to raise their hand? I can step out. Anybody want to raise their hand? You're volunteering someone? Who are you volunteering?
Someone has their hand.
Where? Oh. Yes, Kathy. Say it again. Teaching? Okay, so restoring us to our traditional greatness by teaching. Can you tell me a little bit more what that means? Teaching the history of our people, right? You can't know what you're restoring to if you don't know what was. Yes, the hand far in the back. Use your outside voice. Start with IU. Excellent response. So that means that I know that you are already teaching your peers and other black men like you who Marcus Garvey was and how we need to pay attention to his teaching. So thank you for that. And the other motto that I live by is that if I'm in the room, you're in the room. And if you're in the room, I'm in the room. Anybody tell me what that means? Yes. Are you raising your hand? No? Okay. If I'm in the room, you're in the room. Right? We're talking about our purpose, right? And restoring African people to our greatness, right? And giving access. If I'm in the room, you're in the room. If you're in the room, I'm in the room. What does that mean? What do you think it means? Okay, I'm going to go to the sister in the red and then I'm going to go to the back. Yes.
I just feel like it means that if I'm there for whatever purpose, I should remember that I'm not only representing you.
Absolutely, thank you. What was the brother saying in the back?
Oh, I said we're together and I can see you and you can see me.
Absolutely, right? So don't worry about if you couldn't make it to the university, because I was intentional about coming back to Newark and going back to the high school that I graduated from and sharing what I was learning on Capitol Hill and in Washington, D.C. with people at my old high school. And my sister is a part of a sorority, right? I jokingly say I'm Greek, I'm unique, I'm not Greek. But she's in a room with access to women that has networked all over this world. But if my sister is in the room, I know I'm in the room, so I don't have to worry about, because I'm not at the table, I'm not gonna get access to certain information to be able to advance our family and community, right? The world is our community, and there are African people nearly everywhere. However, let's think for the purpose of this exercise, let's think of community in the context of the world, the United States, the state of New Jersey, or an individual city where we reside. You all have index cards at your table and something to write with. I would like you to spend 2 minutes and write community, underline, and you can write full sentences or you can jot down bullet points. I want you to write down all the ways that you are currently using your talent and your resources to help build the African community. All right, now I want you to turn to the person on your right. I want you to introduce yourselves and share with each other what you have listed on your index card.
Again, David.
David and Kevin.
Kevin.
Am I right?
All right, that's all. So we're playing mentoring programs with you.
Yes, you should turn to the person on your right and introduce introduce yourself and share with each other what you have listed on your index card. So you should be talking only to the person on the right of you. You have learned something new from someone new, because a part of us creating a mission statement is that we need that accountability piece. Raise your hand if you ever created SMART goals. Well, SMART goals, they have to be very specific, right? It has to be something that you can measure, but the other piece is that it has to be something that somebody can hold you accountable for, right? And it's a specific time with it. So we're not gonna get that specific. But I think it's important for us to share out loud what it is that we're doing, because one, it may be an opportunity for you to connect with somebody else who's doing something that you're doing that you didn't even know. Or you may have a resource for each other that can strengthen what you're doing for the community. So these interactions are very intentional. Let's talk a little bit about family. There's another African proverb that says, a family is like a forest. When you are outside, it is dense. When you are inside, you can see that each tree has its place. You have to spend time, however, on the inside so that you are aware of each tree's place as well as which tree needs further support. We cannot get so caught up in the larger community that we miss properly building within our families when they ultimately impact the community at large, right? So you have a lot of people who run around and I gotta do this for the community and I gotta do that, and brother needs such and such, and sister such and such needs such and such. But your first priority is supposed to be at home, right? It doesn't take away from what we're doing for the community at large, because your family feeds into the community at large. So when your family is good, the community will be good, right? Because our community is made up of many different families. So I would like and this is not a criticism for anyone who doesn't have that balance, right? Sometimes we need to think about stuff, process it on paper or out loud, and look at it and say, hey, you know, I've been doing something a certain way. Maybe there's a different approach that I could take to make what I'm doing more effective. Because ultimately, we want to do what? We want to make sure that we are operating at an optimum place so that we can operate in our purpose in building and restoring the African community. Is that right? Okay. So I would like for you to go back to your handy dandy index card and your pen. And I want you to write down all the ways that you are currently building and investing in your family to impact the community at large. And please be honest. I'll give you 2 minutes. Again, you want to write down all the ways, so write family, underline, and list under that in sentences, bullet points, however, whatever works best for you. Write down all the ways you are currently building and investing in your family to impact the community at large.
Season of Kwanzaa, it is Kwanzaa. It's time to celebrate.
Habaragani. Habaragani. Okay, perfect. I'm judging by the heads looking up that we're done listing. So if you could turn to the person who is now on the left side of you, introduce yourself, and share what you have listed on your index card. Turn to the person on the left side of you, introduce yourself, and share what you have listed.
I didn't write anything.
On your index card. You have 2 minutes.
I'm just gonna sit in.
With David, we met earlier in March, and so what are you doing?
Family, like one niece and lots of community events that we're doing just to show how not only I, but the organization, how we give back to the community. And they can do the same when they're getting
Carry over into time they spend with you, influence them.
and to make it fun. So, you know, I don't want to not make something boring.
That's great. Some things I'm doing. Well, actually, this organization, New Family Foundation, originally all the trustees are my husband and my 3 children.
Okay.
So we started this entity. Of course, we grandchildren. Recently, my sons and I started an LLC, and I also, out of personal funds, oh no, that's community. I was going to say what I did with the kid. And I try to contribute to a granddaughter's college fund.
Okay, good stuff. Looks like we're really getting warmed up. We're getting to know each other. We're sharing. I love what I'm seeing. So let's move to self, which is last here, but certainly not least, right? This time I like to share a quote that is not necessarily an African proverb, but one that gives me permission for self-care, so I want to share. Audre Lorde says, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation, and it is an act of political warfare. The work of sustaining and developing community and family can be challenging and tiring. If you agree, raise your hand. It's just tiring, right? If you're actually doing the work. But to make a significant impact, you need to operate at the optimum performance. You cannot change anything if you are dead, and you cannot pour from an empty well. I neglected to say in the beginning that I wanted to acknowledge an ancestor and a former mentor, community mother to me by the name of Joyce Smith Carter. In Newark, she led an organization called Quest Youth Services and Quest Inc. Since she was 20, and she died as an elder. And when she passed of cancer, and she didn't have the greatest health insurance. And I know that Mrs. Carter or her son Angawu would not have a problem with me sharing this story with you. And I'm sharing this story with you because Mrs. Carter took care of families, elders, children in the city of Newark in a greater area and gave, till her well run dry and she didn't have anything else to pour. And she wanted to make sure that the community had everything, right? She would go into her pocket and give her last to make sure that someone had food to eat. But when it was time for her, unfortunately, to experience this thing called cancer, she did not have the proper health insurance and she couldn't properly take care of herself. So that doesn't mean that that's gonna be your story, but there are some of us in the audience who give, run, take care of everybody else. And then when it comes to ourselves, it's, oh yeah, well, I'll get to that later. We don't go to the doctor. And I read Medical Apartheid. It was a very hard read, not hard in terms of literature, hard in terms of what our history, African people's history in this country is with doctors, so I understand. However, God wouldn't give us the technology. So before I go any further, I think that this is, while it's a light example, it's a perfect example in my mind of how we can use our skills and talents to help build, right, and support each other. So I just want to give a huge round of applause. Please join me for Brother Ardell, and I'll tell you why. We did not have one conversation prior to me stepping up here, and he has been excellent with the playing the music. I mean, the exact music. Like, how did he's like on point. So his skills of just being able to connect, right, to support this production, if you will, without even having a conversation. Imagine what we could do with all the conversations that are happening in the room right now. So again, that's something so light, but I really appreciate him. Every time he turns the music on, I'm turning around and giving a thumbs up, like, it's a perfect song, right? So now that you've written down all the ways that you're practicing self-care, you are giving to the community, you are giving to your family, you've shared with each other, I'd like for us to take a moment to create a Nia mission statement. What is that? Well, I want you to look at, and so you should also have an additional index card. So this is something that's going to be created not on the index card that you use to list everything in the 3 areas. You should have a blank index card. And at the top of that, you're going to write Nia mission statement. So we know that Kwanzaa is a time to reflect, right? We're supposed to be practicing the Nguzo Saba principles daily, but sometimes we get caught up. There's a lot of diversions out there for us. And we have to stay connected to one another so we understand what our purpose is. We can't let Cardi B tell us what our purpose is, right? Our purpose is not to wear red bottom shoes. We can't let 45 tell us what our purpose is. See, he don't even know what his own purpose is. There are so many diversions that come and whisper, that yell, that tap, that touch, that come in a form to seem fun and appear as our friends, but they don't mean us individually any well, and they don't mean our community any well. Everything that glitters isn't gold. So this time of Kwanzaa is for us to connect with each other and rejuvenate and understand, get plugged back in on what we're supposed to be doing. So we're going to create a Nia mission statement, right? So that we can take this tangible index card with us, and so that in addition to connecting with our brothers and sisters throughout the year and living our Nguzo Saba principles, we can put it up on our mirror, we can put it in the bathroom, we can put it in our room, so that we can have a constant reminder of what we're supposed to be doing. How are we using our talents and our skills to restore African people to our greatness, right? Because that's our purpose. But how are we doing that in the context of ourselves personally? How are we doing that in the context of our families? And how are we doing that in the context of the community at large? So, You're gonna look at the notes that you put down on your index card, and I would like for you to create one statement of something that you're gonna look to reflect how you are going to live your purpose through your community, through your family, and through yourself throughout the year. But before we go there, pause. I want to take a poll. Should have done that first. I want you to be honest. So you listed community things, family things, and self things. I want you to raise your hand if your list, if community is the biggest list that you have on your index card. So look at all of the things that you listed for every category, and if your list is the biggest for community, raise your hand. The things that you're contributing to the community, that's the biggest. How many hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 community. All right, now I want you to look at, so the people who raise their hand for community should not raise their hand this next time. If you have family as the largest list of how you're contributing, can you raise your hand? If you look at your list, if you have 10 things in family and only 5 and 2 in other areas, community is the largest. Please raise your hand. 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 people for family. All right. And if you raise your hand for community or family, you should not be raising your hand this time. Raise your hand if you have the most things listed in self-care. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. 24, 25. It's more than 33 people in the room, but I'm gonna let y'all live. The point of me doing this poll is to show that there isn't an exact balance. And we should be striving for balance. So on your list, you shouldn't have the scale be heavier in self-care and lighter in family. You shouldn't have community be heavier and then self-care be lighter. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if you get what I'm saying a little bit. Okay, I'll go with the majority. Because life is about balance, so we have to make sure that going forward, when we're creating this NIA mission statement and we're looking at it throughout the year, we have to also ask ourselves, are we balanced in our approach? Because that's the only way that we're gonna be the most effective. All right, so if you can take 2 to 3 minutes, look at the list that you created, and on a separate index card at the top right, NIA mission statement, and create a mission statement for yourself to view over the next year until we get back together again for the next Kwanzaa, God willing. If there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I know I threw out a lot of information. All right, so let's take 2 to 3 minutes to create our NIA mission statement.
on this card.
Habargani. 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 Before I go any further, and I promise I'm wrapping up, I just want you to give yourselves a round of applause. You participated and you didn't, turn your lips and roll your eyes and say, I ain't coming here to work, I just want to get a speaker, right? You challenge yourselves to think deeper about where you are right now, how you're operating, how you want to operate to impact the community. And you also, for some of you, may have stepped outside of your comfort zone to engage with people who you did not know. Those are all of the things that we need to do in order to fully live our purpose, right? We have to constantly be reevaluating where we are, where we're going, and if we're on the right track. So if you have not had an opportunity to finish your NIA mission statement, I encourage you to do so before the end of Kwanzaa, which means you have like a day and some hours, and or 2 days. And so I would like to read Dr. Karenga's initial definition of NIA first. And then I would like to hear what some of your NIA mission statements are, if you would be so bold to share with us. Okay. So NIA is to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. So let's hear what are some of our personal NIA mission statements. Anybody want to raise their hand and go first? Or should I venture into the crowd? I have no problem venturing into the crowd. Yes.
My NIA mission statement is, I will strive to be the best me that I can be.
You will strive to be the best you can be. Thank you for sharing. That's important. She's not with us. Give her a round of applause. If she's not her best self, and she can't impact the community in a way in which she needs to. So thank you for that. Yes, in the back.
My NIA mission statement is to take better care of myself and to make you priority first. And not let anybody make me feel bad about it. To be there more for my grandchildren and make myself available.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Mission statement is making every action I have, I do, I create meaningful purpose and have a positive purpose.
Thank you for that. Yes.
We need to give our children a proper perspective of who they are.
Giving your children a proper perspective of who you are. Thank you. I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go here. I love how you guys are getting warmed up. Yes.
My name is Nia, and finding my purpose and learning how to balance and learning how to accept things more and be open to the world.
Yes, I will do that. I'm going to take two more, here and then here.
My name is Anastasia Waterley, and my statement is to give back to my community and my family as much as I give back to myself.
All right. Yes, the green.
Sorry, I'm going to sit because I'm a little guy.
I understand.
I have lead a God-centered life around the principles of integrity, excellence, service to others, and trustworthiness, inspiring others with my actions, but never forget the power of my voice.
The power of your voice will end with your powerful mission statement. I just want to remind you again to use your NIA mission statement to help you take a balanced approach to using your talents and your resources to build and restore the African community. Thank you.
Thank you
Sister Life, for helping us recognize our Nia, our purpose. Because of you today, I leave here smarter than I came here. I would also like to thank Sister Pinkett for showcasing her talents in classical themes. Also, I would like to thank everyone here today for coming out to celebrate our the fifth principle, Nia, meaning purpose. At this time, I will turn the remarks over to Integrity Lodge number 51 and the New Family Foundation. Thank you.
Let's give our Mistress of Ceremonies another round of applause for doing a great job. And our facilitator and presenter, Sister Linda Lloyd, let's give her a hand as well for making it as engaging as possible. We really appreciate that. And me as a teacher, I understand how important it is to get people actively involved in the work that you're trying to present, because everybody doesn't learn the same way. At this time, let me just acknowledge those young people who were on our program. If you notice, the entire youth body ran this program. Our Mistress of Ceremonies, everybody who was involved was either one of our millennials or one of our future leaders. And I think it was important to put them in front of this program, because it is important to celebrate our young people and encourage our young people when they're doing great things, even some of the skills that they think that they don't have. Sometimes it takes the elders and some of our older people to bring it out of them. So I'm thankful for all of their accomplishments and all the great things they've done this afternoon. Dr. Karenga said it best. You know, he said with Nia, we are divinely chosen to do good in the world. It's that simple. Everybody has been individually chosen, divinely chosen to do good in the world, whether that's through song, whether that's through education, whether that's through public safety, whether that's through leadership, whether that's through education, whether that's through dance, whether that's through athletics. If you can encourage one person, you are on the road of fulfilling your purpose. So I'm thankful for all of our program participants. Let me just call them up one by one. We do have a certificate for them just to say thank you. I'm gonna start with our facilitator. She ain't that young, but she is a millennial. Sister Linda Lloyd, you will come forward, please. We do have a certificate for you. It says Integrity Laws number 51 in association with New Family Foundation Incorporated. Certificate of Appreciation, Kwanzaa Celebration, Nia-Purpose, for exemplifying outstanding service and support of our Kwanzaa program. You are appreciated, awarded this day, December 30th, 2018. Nia, being divinely chosen to bring good into the world. Congratulations. We also have a small little token of love for you. There's enough money in here to get you all the way to Jamaica. Jamaica Queens, that is. Congratulations, we love you. Next person is Olivia Prescott. This is my niece. She is one of the top shot put and discus throwers in the country in her age bracket. Also an A student at West Orange High School. Congratulations. Next we have Brother Darren Burton II, who is an all-star football player, New Jersey orator, and a student. Thank you, sir. We have Miss Talib Pinkett, who is a classical dancer, honor student, comes from a great pedigree of talented folks in her family. We have Johnny O'Neill, my nephew, straight A student at Delaware State University. He also, who does he look like? What basketball player? Who said it? Griffin, who said Blake Griffin? Nephew, nah, let me stop messing with him. Our Mistress of Ceremonies, Miss Demira Simone Price, graduate of Wesley College. We also have the DJ, Brother Arnell McLeod. I ain't forget you, brother. And I have one here for the young lady who prepared the food. I asked her one time, she didn't want no specifics. She said what time, when, where, have it done. That's Valerie Freeman. So I just wanted to acknowledge her. She couldn't be here. She had a death in the family. So we're going to keep her lifted in prayer. And once again, thanks, Val. And let me also personally acknowledge three outstanding groups that are here this afternoon. The Afufa Club, Buds, and Emotion. I want all of them to please stand and come forward. I want all of our young people to come forward. I think they should be celebrated that they're here doing some outstanding positive things in our community. They could have been doing anything else. And there's nobody from the media that's here, and it's a crying shame because this is something that we should celebrate any chance we get. And we will, at a later time, we will acknowledge and celebrate the Umoja Group, Buds, and also the Afufa Club. I've been working with the Afufa Club for years on several community service projects, and I just want to say to all of you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we love you. God bless. And you folks can have a seat if you want, and take some pictures. Take pictures at a later time. Let me also acknowledge the brothers of Integrity Lodge number 51. Let me acknowledge all of our brothers. If you will please stand. Thank you, sirs, for always supporting and need me. Also, the Sisters from Fidelity Chapter number 16. If you will please stand, I would like to acknowledge Fidelity Chapter. Thank you very much. Our sisters and brothers, we realize that we just can't be in this community by name, and we also can't be here resting on the laurels of a lot of our ancestors, that we have to get out here and do the work ourselves. That is a part of our purpose as leaders, fraternal leaders within our organization. Fraternity is a way of life. So if it's a way of life, we have to be very instrumental in helping that way of life become the best that it could possibly be. Once again, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Let me also just acknowledge one other special guest, Sister Velez, all the way from New York. One of our Eastern Star sisters who came out with her young man, her son. Thank you for coming out. And my brother, the Haitian sensation, Brother David Edouard, all the way from Montclair, USA. And Brother Brian D. Mars, Grand Worthy Patron, who runs the male component of our Eastern Stars throughout the state of New Jersey. Thank you. Once again, thank you all for your time and your patience. We have some food prepared for you. You know, with Kwanzaa programs, it's a slippery slope. You don't know what the number's going to look like, but we're going to do the best we can. God has given us 2 fish and 5 loaves to feed the multitude. We're going to rock it today. You hear me? But other than that, thank you very much. And at this time, I would like to bring one of the representatives from New Family Foundation to come up for their final remarks, if they may do so at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. God bless you. Good night.